Riddell, and welcome to Arts in the City. The holidays are upon us, and it's time to get a little bit festive. So we are coming to you from the world-famous Macy's Holiday Windows. The theme this year, Give, Love, Believe. It is a tribute to our city and just the dose of cheer we need to close out 2020. We begin today with a fun way to spruce up those four walls you've been staring at for months. It might just be the change of scenery you've been looking for. Susan Junn has the details.
Stepping inside Flavor Paper's Brooklyn studio, Flavor Lair, is like walking into an art gallery. Except this art doesn't hang on the walls, it lines the walls.
We're always trying to push the boundaries with what wallpaper can and should be.
Using off-the-wall materials like day glow, scratch and sniff, holograms, and even invisible ink, Flavor Paper creations are nothing like your grandma's wallpaper.
It's meant to draw you in rather than recede. It's meant to come to the foreground and become something that engages you and brings you into that space. We have inks that change color as you walk past them, inks that look different depending on what they're printed over. We've figured out how to find a water-based adhesive slurry that allows you to scratch and sniff different scents.
Interactive and engaging materials that bring to life hundreds of unique designs, from floral to funky to famous. Flavor Paper's process is almost as interesting as its designs. Using flatbed printing, many of the wallpapers are screen printed by hand, including some of Flavor Paper's exclusive collection, reinterpreting the iconic art of Andy Warhol.
We took classics like his flowers and his camo and his dollar signs and Marilyn, Elvis, and we try and really honor his techniques. So it's where he would paint a canvas all over and then print, the one stable object over that as a silk screen. We do the same thing with our wallpaper. So we actually have 4 people moving up and down this table, hand painting and spraying and splattering the material, and then we go over that and print either Ali or Marilyn or different elements that integrate that one-of-a-kind artwork into the wallpaper. So it truly is a piece of art, and nobody will ever have one that's the same.
An artistic endeavor started in 2003 when Flavor Paper founder John Sherman rescued equipment from a wallpaper company that closed in the 70s. At the time, wallpaper was passé, and Sherman saw an opportunity to change the narrative.
It had just gone through a glut, really because of low quality production. And there were all these technological advances in materials and pastes and things that really made it much more accessible.
And healthier. Flavor Paper was one of the first wallpaper companies to use water-based inks and eco-friendly materials, eventually moving into water-based digital printing, creating its DIY collection with pre-pasted and pre-trimmed paper. And during this time, when many of us are working from home, Flavor Paper is giving you the chance to virtually wallpaper your office. The paper of my choice, Permanent Sunset. If you want these designs on your walls and not just your computer, you don't need an interior designer to get them.
We've worked with everybody from Google and Nike down to, your neighbor around the corner.
Art that's wall-to-wall and accessible to all. For Arts in the City, I'm Susan Junn.
New York City has a starring role in plenty of holiday movies, including right here in Herald Square. Our Neil Rosen has a list of cinematic suggestions that'll make you want to cozy up with some eggnog.
Hello, New York City!
I want to go to Times Square tonight.
That's highly doubtful.
New York City in the holiday season. The two go hand in hand, and the movies have been capturing the magic of that special time of the year in the Big Apple for many decades. Here's a look at a few. The Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade has been a time-honored tradition for almost 100 years, and it was captured on film in the 1947 black and white classic, Miracle on 34th Street. which was recently colorized and features a young Natalie Wood. It's about Kris Kringle, who goes on trial to prove he's the real Santa Claus.
I've got a feeling he is Santa Claus, Mother.
The movie was so popular, it's been remade numerous times over the years, but I'd stick with the original classic.
Oh, yes.
Speaking of oldies but goodies set in New York,
Merry Christmas, I'm ringing.
in the 1960 Oscar-winning film The Apartment, possible lovebirds Shirley MacLaine and Jack Lemmon get better acquainted at their annual office Christmas party. But things get complicated for MacLaine, who's involved with the big boss at the firm, Fred McMurray. They're both seen here celebrating New Year's Eve.
Happy New Year, friend.
Speaking of New Year's, director Gary Marshall's romantic comedy New Year's Eve was filmed on location in Times Square. Taking place on the famed night, complete with the ball drop, it features an all-star cast as it intertwines the love stories of several New Yorkers.
Because that's what New Year's is all about.
That and a good party.
The Family Man is one of my favorite holiday films. Hotshot bachelor and rich Wall Street executive Nicolas Cage is visited by an angel played by Don Cheadle on Christmas Eve, who turns Cage's life upside down.
What's happening to me?
Waking up on Christmas morning, Cage finds himself in a completely different life as a suburban dad who works in a tire store and is married to Téa Leoni. In The Night Before, three lifelong friends, played by Seth Rogen, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and Anthony Mackie, spend Christmas Eve in New York City looking for the wildest holy grail of Christmas parties, something called the Nutcracker Ball. New York City during holiday time is also the setting in the family drama Black Nativity from 2013. It features such stars as Forrest Whitaker, Angela Bassett, Jennifer Hudson, and Mary J. Blige. In Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, as the title implies, Macaulay Culkin is left stranded all by himself in the Big Apple during the holiday season. He not only takes in all the classic sights, but once again makes the lives of two bumbling crooks, played by Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern, positively miserable. In Scrooged, a modern comedic update of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, Bill Murray stars as a mean, cynical New York TV executive who's visited on Christmas Eve by three unlikely ghosts who try and teach Murray the true meaning of Christmas. Rocker David Johansen plays a cabbie who's the ghost of Christmas past and takes Murray on one wild ride through the city.
Going the wrong way! Relax, Frank. Enjoy the ride.
How do you know my name?
I'm the ghost.
Perhaps my favorite holiday movie of all time is Elf.
Okay, people, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., Santa's coming to town.
Santa! Oh, my God!
Will Ferrell, as Buddy the Elf, who was raised at the North Pole by Santa, comes to New York to find his real father, played by a gruff James Caan. The movie is not only hilarious, it shows off New York during holiday time in dozens of iconic locales, making this Christmas comedy an absolute must-see.
Wow. That's a big one.
New York Christmas scenes crop up in lots of other movies too, if you know where to look. And all the films I just talked about are available to stream or rent on DVD. Enjoy the holidays, everybody, and happy movie watching. For Arts in the City, I'm Neil Rosen.
The pandemic has made it hard to enjoy all that New York City typically offers when it comes to arts and culture. But as we like to say, art is everywhere, even outdoors, and we've never appreciated it more. Our next stop, East Harlem. Before and after. What was a nondescript wall in East Harlem is now exploding with vivid color and positivity, brought to life by artist Marco Santini and Rick Guardati, founder of Positive Exposure, a nonprofit that promotes a more inclusive world through photography, film, and education.
So this is the East Harlem Wall of Love. It features the word love in over 100 different languages, which is meant to symbolize that there's more that unites us than divides us. So I wanted to create something that everyone could relate to, no matter their race, their gender, or their sexual orientation.
The mural, which is 4 stories tall, is located in this church courtyard at East 109th Street, also home to Positive Exposure's gallery.
Our landlord is the church, so we're part of the Episcopal Church, and we share that courtyard with the common pantry, which is a food pantry that served over 6 million meals this year already, and they're an extraordinary organization. And the churches, and really what we're looking at is how do we fill the world with love?
The mural went up over several days and took about 20 hours to create, making something out of nothing a familiar challenge to both Rick and Marco, who are zealous about using art for social good. As he told us in this story from 2018, Rick is a former fashion photographer who worked with some of the world's top models, but he found his true calling in positive exposure, using his camera to redefine beauty while celebrating those who live with physical, genetic, and behavioral differences.
Starting to work with communities that were excluded from the beauty standard, and really literally photographing this first young lady who walked in with zero self-esteem as a direct result of the bullying and the teasing she experienced every day because of her difference. And it was just holding up a mirror and saying, "You're magnificent. Look at yourself." And watching this kid go from this to this and exploding with the smile that literally lit up New York City like this wall does. So it's always that smile, that love, that spark, that bright light that just shines on all of us.
Marco, equally passionate, describes an earlier piece done during the height of the pandemic. He explains he partnered with Bloomingdale's to create a mural of appreciation for first responders and essential workers on the temporarily closed-up store.
And when I went out there, I hadn't been outside of a 2-block radius of my house for months. It was April 22nd, Earth Day, and it was a really eerie feeling. And despite all the craziness, I still had someone, while I was at the top, maybe 12, 14 feet high, some total stranger walked over and asked if he could hold the ladder for me. And during COVID, we both had our masks on. It was this beautiful human interaction. I have no idea who this person is. That person touched my heart, made sure I was safe up there, and it was beautiful. And so I think that people respected it. Even when the BLM protests happened and Bloomingdale's was broken into in Soho, my boards were preserved. The boards weren't destroyed and broken down like other stores had been that were looted. They basically removed it in a somewhat gentle, nice way, kept it up because the messaging was so powerful, and which is why now those boards are traveling the country.
Another bright side to this outdoor art exhibition, you still have time to catch it.
Oh, it's there full time. It's going to be there permanently forever and ever as long as we're here and that building stands.
Chinese lantern festivals are a feast for the eyes, and they're also the inspiration for Luminosity Festival, a dazzling display of light that spans 10 acres on Randall's Island and runs through January 10th. Take a look. We could all use a laugh right now. I know I could. But have we lost our sense of humor? Maybe just a little bit too much politically correct angst? That's what the stand-up comedians are saying. But are they too scared to be funny or too funny to be scared? Veteran comedian Judy Gold takes a deep dive into the belly laughs with our own funny guy, Barry Mitchell.
The flight attendant comes over to me and says, "Hi, are you aware that you're sitting in the emergency exit?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm aware I'm sitting in the emergency exit. We need a verbal yes that you'll help in case of an emergency." I'm like, "Yeah, I'll help. If they pay me, okay?"
Ladies and gentlemen, here she is, the star of stage, screen, and flatbed trucks, Judy Gold. Hi.
How you doing, Barry? It's so nice to see you.
It's been so long. Explain the flatbed truck reference.
So, because of COVID, I don't know if you've heard of this, all the clubs are closed.
I've heard.
And my first outdoor set I did after the quarantine was on a flatbed truck at a drive-in movie theater in Queens. and the audio was going into the stereo system of the cars, so they would laugh by flashing their headlights. So I was like doing car jokes like, hey, Audi, what's your problem? Someone needs an inspection, huh?
Let's talk about your new book. Yes, I can say that. When they come for the comedians, we are all in trouble. Cancel culture, political correctness, trigger words. Even before the pandemic hit, you were quoted as saying, it's terrifying out there right now for stand-ups.
I think it's been going south with this politically correct stuff. But when Trump became president and we had a president without a sense of humor, it really had a profound effect on what was going on in the comedy clubs. And it became this sort of feeling that they couldn't get past. You make a joke, even if it was about something as stupid as his hair, that was the end of it for them. You're dissing their leader of their cult. We're not making laws. We're not using speech to incite violence. We are trying to make you laugh. And a lot of us are trying to make you laugh and think at the same time, which is why I think, Bill Burr, who was hosting SNL, they were so nervous about where he was going and what he was talking about.
The month of June is Gay Pride Month. That's a little long, don't you think? For a group of people that were never enslaved. Black people were actually enslaved. They get February.
You can talk about anything as long as you have a well-crafted joke, as long as it's funny. If you go to a comedy club and you get upset that you were offended, that is like going to an amusement park, getting on a roller coaster, and being upset that you were scared. Why is it that a comedian tells a joke you don't like and they should never be able to tell another joke again?
And you bear no malice towards comedians like a Rodney Dangerfield or a Rita Rudner who was just in for the punchline.
No, they're doing their job. That's their style. I talk about Andrew Dice Clay. I believe in complete freedom of speech.
Colleges have been particularly bad for comedians. I remember when colleges were a bastion of free speech.
Yep. The real world is full of quote unquote triggers. The real world is not pleasant. You have to learn to deal with it.
Well, to be fair, a college, they're paying you to come in and speak.
Right.
And it's their playground.
You agree to that. That's fine. But if you come to my home club and tell me while I'm working out my material, I crossed the line, I did this, that's how we do our work.
Once the clubs reopen again, how long is it going to take us to get back to acclimating audiences how to laugh the way they used to? Or will we ever be able to do
what?
that?
I noticed this summer when I was doing outdoor shows. People are starved for laughter. Because of this pandemic, we're all sort of in the same boat. We're all thinking the same thing, which is the perfect palette for comedy. As my mother used to say, God rest her soul, if we weren't laughing, we'd be crying. Hopefully, it's going to change for the better. And we got to stop taking ourselves so seriously. Calm down.
Thanks, Judy.
Thank you.
The pandemic has devastated the arts community, with many performers and dancers finding themselves out of work and struggling. But live streaming offers some hope of keeping the industry thriving and the rest of us beautifully entertained. Laura Fuchs has the story.
The performance and art industry has really taken a massive hit from COVID. Flying on the Radar is a multifaceted creative agency and performance company. We create events or experiences for a wide variety of different companies and businesses. So you might catch us directing a fashion show, you might catch us on set for an editorial shoot giving the model movement direction, you might catch us doing an amazing live theater-esque flash mob in the middle of Times Square. The work ranges. In order to continue to create under Flying on the Radar during the quarantine, I created an Instagram live series called Questions With, where I just interviewed friends of mine who are very experienced within the industry, caught up with them, asked them questions about their careers, how they were dealing with quarantine and the pandemic. If you could sit back and just look at your younger self, or even these younger artists out here, and tell them a couple of pieces of advice, what would you tell them?
You need to figure out what your purpose is right away. And you also need to figure out right away what direction you want to go in.
As the city started to reopen, Flying Under the Radar has put together 3 live stream dance performances. The first one being Shades, hosted by Lightbox Live, in collaboration with amazing dancer choreographer teacher Malik Washington on the complexities of what it's like to be Black in America currently. The next performance was by Roderick George from Houston, Texas, in collaboration with a musician named Lodic, and his piece was called A Fleshless Beast. And the last one was my personal creation called Day 276, featuring the dancer Zooey Gomez, and that piece centered on space travel. We also have a Q&A following the series that gives back extremely, extremely important advice from these well-seasoned artists. I would like to treat live stream performances as you would treat an in-person live performance. You shut your phone off, you shut your thoughts off, and you commit to being into this performance that you're watching. This is a new journey that we're all kind of embarking on together. So it's important that we all adapt to this new way of viewing and experiencing art, because it's one of the only options that we have right now. I would tell other creatives that are struggling right now, continue to move forward. Get a journal, write your notes down, write your ideas down, because when the city reopens, you want to make sure that you have stuff in the chamber and you're ready to go.
A fondue pot, a dishpan, and a cheese grater. If that doesn't sound like music to you, you haven't met percussionist David Langlois. He took those very items from his grandmother's kitchen when he started his world tour. Maria Vami introduces us.
We have the primary piece, the oldest piece, the fondue pot, grandma's cheese grater, my grandpa's trowel. Obviously is the washboard, don't forget the woodblock, and then the dishpan. Music started from the beginning with my grandparents, my mom, my uncle. Everybody was nobody played music, but everybody was passionate about music very deeply. The washboard came after a few years of drum set when I was hired by some kind of a wedding band, but they didn't have the room for the drum set, and they were telling me like, maybe you can't find, I don't know, some kind of a washboard. So I went into the thrift shop and asked the guy, and he happened to have one buried under some dust. Sold it for me for maybe $3.50. I was living with my grandma at the time, and she was doing dishes. And I just started to I had the thimbles with me, so while the water was boiling, I was trying things around. And her fondue pot sounded so good, really like a cowbell. So I asked her, can I borrow this for a tour? She said yes. And it's still on the same washboard today. 30 years later, from the Alps to India, England, Africa, America, obviously, Lincoln Center, and Birdland, you name it. I have 2 bands. I have a gypsy jazz band, the Hot Clubbers. And then I have a more reggae band, and that's the Brookliners. I play a lot also with Stéphane Vandel. We just had the new Woody Allen movie. He wrote the whole score, so you'll hear me on the next Woody Allen.
My shrink says I'm attracted to women who will hurt me. Have you been sleeping with Philippe?
Never, except once. Well, twice.
COVID affected me definitely, as every musician. So I record at home, and I work on my next album. I'm happy to be here and growing a little family here. Beside that, music is what makes me breathe, what makes me wake up in the morning, or what excites me the most.
Now, a quick preview of one of the stories we're working on for next month, the art of textile design. We'll introduce you to an entrepreneur who shares her creative talents with children.
The type of marbling that we're doing is called sumi nagashi. Can everyone say that with me? Sumi nagashi. Whoa! All right.
Whoa! That's so beautiful.
Your helmet is okay.
Mine looks so good.
Yeah, when we do
It looks like the earth.
That is our show for today. Thanks so much for joining us. A quick reminder to check us out on social media. We'd love to hear from you. I'm Anne Riddell. Happy holidays, and we'll see you next time on Arts in the City.